Greetings, everybody. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. It's about that time. It's time for the feedback loop. It's Wednesday, Portfolio Potluck Day. I'm super excited. We're going to have a lot of designers today, maybe even a record session. Jumping in around the lunchtime hour, we're going to be looking at portfolios, giving some feedback, see if we can get some people pushed forward during this difficult time. And you know it's difficult. And you know why it's difficult, but we're all going to push through. Had some good calls yesterday. Some of you jumped in. Would encourage any of you who are currently enrolled in the program, get your meetings in. This is time to begin strategizing about that next step forward. As you look around, there's a lot of shifting in the landscape, and what's interesting is of mine right now for me. And if otherwise, you may be you may be working through the program, and you may be working through some exercises. You're working toward that portfolio, so you're already on the path. So not specifically talking to you, but if you're one of the former students that have jumped through over the last close to a year now, we've been doing this, and actually been doing the online remote education thing since 2014. Yeah, it's a long time. That means a lot of you have passed through some form of my online education thing. So I would encourage you to reach out if you find yourself in a spot, as some of you have begun to do so. Just taking a look at down here at Daily Stand Up. Taking a look at feedback loop. Looks like we got James, Katie, and Rebecca in this morning. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Hey, I got the keys right on the first try. All right, I've got Katie up first, and I'm just going to turn off my Figma guides and see what we got. All right, so Katie, this is already feeling like it's coming along. I focus, when you're in wireframes, I focus on a few key things. One, can we get our spacing right? Okay. It's not so dreadfully important to me. Well, it's not important at all, actually, to get the exact style right. I mean, you're going to use different fonts. You're going to use different colors. My point here is, you've got your content figured out. Let's figure out the space, okay? So that when you go to do the next iteration of it, it's not this radical rethinking as you leap from wireframe to prototype. All right, and obviously here we do a version of prototyping that is wireframe driven. Looking through here, I like seeing a label here telling me what's going on down here. This grid. You got a nice footer there. We're coming over. This is so much more consistent than where you started at. I'm not sure if you've saved a version of this. Nah, you don't, and that's not a big deal. But go back and if you go back and watch the video from like a week ago to compare it against where we're at now, it's night and day. So good job there. Looking through, you've got, so this is interesting. Spacing wise, I see you've got a filter option set here for dairy free. You may find yourself, maybe you can only select one of these at a time. Maybe that's what you're indicating. So that's fine. I think that's fine. Let's see here. You got a note here. All right, so nutrition label, ingredients, prep. So I like the idea. that you're kind of sketching out what you're thinking. I think that's when we talk about our sketches really predate our uh, wireframes most of the time. Most of the time, we're sketching on this piece of paper because we don't want to get into the actual. Don't let a program and your familiarity with the program dictate how good your wireframes are, how good your information architecture is. So I think this is the right idea. Um, you know, we've got some spacing here that needs to be worked on. The other thing I do wonder is, ingredients and prep. Um, yeah, I, you know, it's I, mm, I struggle. I struggle because I'm thinking about this steak bowl, and I'm thinking about, are they prepping it? What's the prep part? Um, maybe you're giving them the ingredients, and they're putting it together. Um, yeah. So, um, also want to show you a plugin. Um, where it's spell checking for Figma. Spell's going to come through and oh no, oh no. I guess the free trial ended. Let's see what the upgrade is. I didn't realize there was a license for this thing. Um, ooh, it's $10 a month. That's a lot. That's quite a bit for a spell checker. Um, yeah. Although if you buy it yearly, you get it for $4 a month, or you can pay 72 and just get it for one time and use it forever. I'm always iffy on those things though. That, and I'll have to say it was not the greatest spell checker. It was kind of okay as a free tool, but not sure if I'm crazy about it. Um, so that said, we'll have to look around on Figma. Actually, let's go look right now. Um, God, I'm terrible. I should pay for that plugin, but it wasn't just fantastic. So I'm not like, I'm not just like, I'm not cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over that plugin. Let's go to community, go to plugins. I'm kind of driving you around. Just so we've got plugins, and I'm gonna say spelling. I could also say grammar. So yeah, the trouble is I pay for Grammarly, and paying for Grammarly, I struggle to want to pay for another. Let's see if, yeah, there's not a Grammarly. Yeah, so let's try this one from. Let's try Logic Wind. It's new, and I'm just curious. So we've done that. Let's come back over here to your wireframe. Um, Spell Inspector. Okay, so Spell Inspector is running. I've never used Spell Inspector. Of course not, because I literally just installed it. Um, so, I like this. It gives you. This is really nice. It gives you options for what it thinks it could be. So you've got cauliflower, address, carbs right. Um, your customize is correct. Um, okay. So it got this British flair to it. Um, this was the big one. You have ingredients with an A. It's with an E. So this is, and you could scan more if you wanted to. It's gonna keep going. This is actually really nice. I like the fact that it gives you these options to, is this what you mean? Maybe it's that, because paleo, I know it's correct, but I do like the fact that it's like, maybe it's pale, maybe that's what you're going after. And there are words that I struggle with. Pasteurize, I've never spelled that correctly. Um, so yeah, I would encourage, I like spell inspector. I would encourage using that plugin on this, specifically for things like that. You just don't want that permeating through your design. And when we look at this, I'm still not certain, and I'm not sure why. Oh, so fat saturated is a subcategory of fat. When we look at this from a size perspective, 20 is a bit large on these. So um, yeah, I would come down. Let's see what you have here. Oh, that's 20 as well, and this is 24. Yeah, I would start this at 20 and stair step this down to like 16, just to like give it some proper sizing, because I come up here. This paragraph's at 14, so it's like that's what's happening here. This bottom section is really leading this experience when the top should be doing that. And so I'd flip the typographical weight here a bit. And then again, what's happening here in prep? Like, what is that? Because in some ways I could see this just scrolling, and you have, instead of having this selector that changes, I mean, if ingredients is just taking up, or if nutrition is just taking up this side, and it needs to be smaller anyway. What if you put it nutrition and ingredients in a rail, and then prep was, so what I'm saying is, and again, we're not quite on the grid. Like, the grid's in here, not out, like we're setting in the gutter. It's either here or here, not here. But, I digress. What I'm saying here is, if this is ingredients and nutrition, depending on what prep is, prep could be all of that. Okay, but figure out, like, find a home here for, like, either bring it in or bring it out. Don't let it ride, like, literally in the gutter. Okay. Let's keep looking here. How it works. Your spacing is equal, so I'm not going to give you grief here. I really would like this to, like, live on the grid or adjust the grid. Like up here, you've got this on the grid. Although it's interesting, you've got this. So this is a constant struggle. First of all, how it works, I'd go to the edge like that, or like this, not the in between. But I would do this, and then, like, you have it off 3 and then off 2. It needs to either be 3 on each side or 2 on each side, but not this kind of in between, like, because it's automatically off kilter. It's either centered or or it's something like, there's nothing wrong with pulling it over here either and then doing something different over here if you want to. But if you're off 3, I'd make this off 3 as well. Okay, so let's keep going. So here, again, it's like I see you using the grid, but we're not quite using the grid. The gutter is meant to be here, not here. Like, here you're lined up with the outside of the next grid element. So if I was, I would always take advantage of that column, or I would pull in from that column. Like, I wouldn't rest everything in the gutter. Okay. So there's that. And here you've done it perfectly. Like, this is Address. That's where that was popping up. Here you've done it perfectly. It looks like you're still kind of working your way through here. Profile. Interesting. Yeah, this is where I would begin to look at, okay, how am I using menu as a label? And if I'm using menu like this here, does that same size and same placement need to permeate? And would it be better if profile was instead over here for consistency's sake, and then like all this stuff could move down? Um, I'm always looking for ways to inject typographical consistency. For instance, I've got my circuit project over here that I was working on, and some of the stuff is in Flex, so but at a very high level, you can see like from one page to the next, I have things in very similar placement as you go through. Um, I'm not I'm not trying to move things around as I go. It's supposed to, like, as you go from one page to the next, everything should be in the same spot. All the typographical styles that I'm using over here um, are used in a very consistent manner throughout the design. So I'm looking for that here with you on things like profile. Yes, there are some instances here that are going to be very different from one page to the next, and I'm not asking you to commit to, hey, this is going to be this typeface at this size. I'm really looking for like placement. Like, where's it going to live? Can we get some consistency here? And if we can, that's going to simplify your design a lot. Okay? All right, so I'm going to bounce out of this. I know you've got a lot that you're working on. Actually, I want to come down here. Okay, so if I hit customize, I get this drop down. What's interesting is if I get this drop down, I almost feel like, this should like come down with it. It's interesting. I think that's an interesting, like, because I got to go down here and then I come up. I like it though. I'm wondering what the paradigm here is. Like, I click this and then I get controls that are below that. It's interesting. I think it might need tweaking. Also, I'm curious if it needs this much space. Like, again, this is 18, possibly. But if I hit customize, could it just simply push this column down? And this resides over here. Do I need that much space? I don't know. But I definitely like this approach more so than where we were with the cereal box label thing. But it's moving forward. It's definitely moving forward. Looks like we currently don't have any. Yes, empty state. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think you're on your way. I think you're on your way. I really feel like, the menu page is coming along. Again, the grid thing, getting a handle on that now, not living in the gutters, living in the columns, not the gutters. The columns are the little white strips that are between, the gutters are the white strips between the columns. You want to align with the column, not with the gutter. Okay? All right, let's move along. Squawk. We've got Squawk. We're jumping into James now. Sorry, this is what happens when I yap too much. And you know me, I yap a lot. All right. So giving this a peek. So following on Twitter. All right. Podcast. kind of getting a sense. Connected a lot of things. Spacing is way better on this overall. Um, mm-hmm. Station names are always going to be longer than that. Be careful. Just be very careful utilizing three-letter acronyms to represent. Uh, it's like Vox, NBA. Just take the Tim Ferriss show. Like, how would the Tim Ferriss show up in here? I know Recode Decode would be okay for the most part. Pivot. Now, there's a lot of interactions here. Do we have anything in prototype form? Or is it just like, no, we don't. Okay. I will say that I do hate it that I can't, we can't get the full name for Galloway or Fisher ever in here. And I'm sure this is showing me what it looks like if 4 people are here. There's only 2 hosts. So does that mean that in those instances 1 face would show up here, or 2 faces would show up here, or 3 faces would show up here, and you're showing me the maximum? Is that what's going on? So that's a little bit of what I'm reacting to, the dynamic information that's going to update in your design. It's not that it's not that I dislike the design itself. I'm reacting to, well, crap, it doesn't seem like I'm ever going to be able to display like this. And it says podcast title, and then I never get enough space to display full information. Should this just be a list view instead of this grid view, so that I can show, that information appropriately? And it isn't that okay, so this is what happens when you don't have one, this is what happens when you do have like an icon, this is what happens when you have 2. I am curious if when you have 2, do you show names at all? You've got a lot of dynamic information that is fighting for space, like just constantly fighting for space. It says this is the podcast title. If this is the podcast title and it's always cutting off, do you just move date and time down to its own line, just so you have more space? And that's a constant theme here with our discussions, is that I'm constantly pushing, we need space, because you can't predict how long that thing is going to be. And if you're if in the initial design you're already ... you're already truncating, that means that we don't have enough space. We just don't have enough space. So there are little ways that you've kind of boxed yourself in on the dynamic information. I would love to see you adjust this. If 3 people are on a podcast, this should be designed for 3 wide, not basically 4 wide. I mean, it seems like Apple is dynamic enough to allow um, the spacing to be a little wider. It really comes down to um, what's the size of the div that you've created here, and it's not going to give you every name, and these images are going to change, and maybe her guest has a really long name, and that's still going to chop off. I just think anytime you're in preview mode like this, and you've got things truncating, I think it's like a flag. It's like, wait, why are we truncating everything? Like up here, I totally get it. Like podcast episode title goes right here. Dot dot dot. Like that's all the space you got. Like you went the full width. Yes, you've got icons and whatever to the side, but that's what you got. Okay, you can't do longer. And podcast name is here. It's not truncating, but the podcast name could be longer. But here I think the emphasis is up on the title of the episode. So I still have some concerns with space. Yeah, I've got some concerns with space. I don't know if this up arrow would be that large. This looks like a nav bar at the bottom. It's like the player has gone down, and you go up, and the player comes up from the bottom, which is fine. And now you've got this down arrow. But I'm curious as I look at this down arrow, and I can't really get to it. It's weird. No, I can get. Well, it's weird. Anyway, it's probably locked. Anyway, I look at the up arrow, and the up arrow is bigger than the down arrow. It's like, just take this arrow and use it here. This arrow is bigger. Like consistency, and it's also interesting to me that it like flips. It like goes to this side. It seems like that would stay. It seems like it would stay on the same side. I'm thinking about the transition, and like it's gonna go up and say, wait. So, I don't know. There's something odd about that. So I would want to go take a look at that. So, dynamic information, kind of. I think this is on the right side. Maybe it's just that it needs to stay on that side. Maybe that's the trick, or maybe that card interaction. Like if I'm just curious. Yeah, let's go over here to this UI kit that I seem to constantly have open, and here's this. I have this, activity view that I've brought up from the bottom. There's an X there, and it is gesture based. So I just tap it. I wouldn't necessarily have the arrow. I just tap it, and it would go up, and then I'd have an X over here, for when I want to close it, and like it can go back down. So maybe that's something to look at for your paradigm that you have. But yeah, there's something about that arrow, the arrow coming up, the size of it, and then the fact that it switches sides. I don't think that's what you want in that instance. So I'm gonna leave that there, though. I want to come back really fast to Squawk. That's Rebecca. We'll get to Rebecca here in a second. So list view, discover, edit, radio, feature, UI, show notes, chapter screens, rating, minimize player. Yeah, so the minimize player, that's the bit. User flow. Um, yeah, I think the prototyping is next, but on this, I do think the X is fine. Um, I almost wonder if this should be just a thumbs up. Um, and although that would indicate if I hit that and I didn't want to give it a thumbs up, would I ever hit the thumbs up to give it a thumbs down? It's like, although, like there is I don't know, YouTube. The paradigm is you have a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Um, Facebook, you get you could hit the thumbs up and then get a wave of emotions to show instead of just the thumbs up. Uh, Same thing for LinkedIn. LinkedIn's got the clap and the heart, um, and then the thinking. So so there is some precedence for just using the symbol, and then you get a chance to choose a different emotion. The symbol really just means, hey, I want to react to this, and then you get some options, thumbs up, thumbs down, something to consider. Okay, but my biggie here is spacing. Like, what are we doing to make that easier? You know, Spacing. Like, should we kick this down? Um, Spacing. And spacing of dynamic information, to be specific. I think your spacing overall is fine. Like it's the okay. I've got a piece of dynamic information. How am I shoehorning information into the spot that I've designed? That's the question. Let's come on through. Let's take a look at Rebecca. Rebecca is up next. All right, so the footer section. Well, let's look at what you got. So, Knife Doctor, visit the site. Haven't looked at Knife Doctor in a while. Okay, so you said something about header as well. I'm not seeing a header up here. This is where WP review slider needs to go. Rebecca Barr, frustrated designer. Oh, that's so sad. So we've got that sorted out. Sharpen or buy? Sharpen or buy? Sharpen or buy? That seems like a question. What's your opinion on CTA buttons in the services section? Sharpen or buy? Each CTA will route to a place on the products page where the customer can sharpen or buy a product or service. Okay, so this is where I struggle, because you have three things that are doing a similar action, and then you have this one thing over here that's doing scheduling. If I were to work with the client, I would probably encourage them to group these three together. Like, here's a section. It's gonna be 3 columns wide, and it's gonna have one sharpen or buy underneath it, one call to action underneath. Because these are not necessarily going to different places. Now, if in the instance that these were going to different places, like I might say more kitchen, more grooming. The other is difficult. So there's some other knives might be, and then it could go to different places like that. And then I might come up here with I might have a label over the top of it that says sharpen or buy, and sharpen or buy in the kitchen, sharpen or buy grooming and beauty, sharpen or buy or buy other sharp things, and then show me more. Show me more grooming, show me more kitchen, show me more other. This events and seminars thing. This is where I might try to come back with a different section with him, like show him, and then have that information off to the side. Um, because right now the way it's presented, they're going different places. I get that, but these three are so similar, and this one is the different. So I would suggest splitting these, but I would have a conversation with the client about that. If you split, you get an opportunity to do one call to action. If you keep them together, I would change up these call to actions to something other. I might actually take these and make these a sharpen, buy, or see. So that the events kind of make sense, but it needs a label to allow you to do that. That's just one thing. So we've kind of discussed that. Header in the blog is not letting me delete the word header. Okay. So let's go look at blog. Hello. Blog. I'm not sure how to get there. We'll come back to that. Blog. Welcome to the Knife Doctor. Okay, so the footer, you've got your new footer, and I'm guessing this is the old footer, so you've got like two footers. What I am suspecting is that on the... Yeah, this is very different. This is like, where did this blue come from? On the footer, though, if we go in and we... let's just come back to the Knife Doctor dashboard. On the pages, there may be a default footer. Like you're applying a footer inside of Elementor. If we go inside of pages and we get to, let's see here, this appears to be the one that you're utilizing. I want to edit this page, and it's probably going to have, there should be a panel over here to the right for page attributes, and disable footer bar. So I'm going to publish this. Yeah, we're going to publish it. And what this should do is remove that second footer. Let's go check that out. And again, this is where we go back and forth between the finished site or the live site and the dashboard. And thanks WordPress. That didn't do what I wanted it to do, though. Yeah, that's very much still there. So I want to inspect this and just see if I can get any clues about where it's coming from. Oh, Elementor. Interesting. So that appears to be coming from Elementor itself. Wouldn't have anticipated that, but okay. So that's coming in as a section. So maybe we just need to edit that in Elementor. So let's see what's going on. WordPress, it's always like I'm moving in 10 different directions all at once. Alright, so yeah. So edit footer. So footer is its own element that's been applied to this page. So but I also know that you you have your you have this as a section, I believe. So yeah, let's go to there's divider and there's elements. Let's go to uh, let's go back to the dashboard. I've got to kind of wrap my head around the templates that you've got. Let's go to save templates. So you've got a footer. You've got a couple of footers. Did they have a footer? I'm not seeing the footer they have created. Actually, these are all yours. It looks like. Page. Section. Okay. I'm going to come back over here to pages. I want to view that original home page. So, yep, that's still there. Okay. Okay, so let's go back. We've got this thing called single. And I need to understand where single is at. He's got a template for the former designer has a template for single that's existing somewhere. And let's go back into view site. FlexWorks. So let's see if that took care of our issue. It was just kind of heading. It was just kind of existing there at the bottom. Now let's go back to dashboard. Go visit the site. And that's gone. Okay, so it was just kind of appended to the bottom. I gotta be honest with you, I don't know where it was coming from because I didn't see it as a shape in the template library, and I didn't see it necessarily as a saved element elsewhere. So, I don't know where he was storing it at. And of course, this is one of the things that you get into when you're picking up work that somebody else did like 2 years ago, and there's no documentation. You're just kind of looking around, constantly trying to orient yourself. So that's kind of where, unfortunately, that's where I'm gonna have to leave that one without digging in too much. So this footer section, that's gone. The WP sliders is a plugin. Okay, footer section CTA. Blog entries pulling themselves from some template the previous designer created. I want to put it in it. That one I think we're going to have to dig into a little deeper, because again, that's another previous designer thing. WP sliders is a plugin. Okay, so I saw that you had, let's go back to your dashboard. I saw WP sliders was a plugin here. Let's go to installed plugins. Lots of new versions here. Okay, WP review slider allows you to easily display Facebook reviews. So I'm going to view details on this one. I've never seen this or used it, so I've got to pull myself up to speed here. How it works: easily connect Facebook apps with a couple of button clicks. Click retrieve reviews button to download all your Facebook reviews into your WordPress database. Create a review template, and then paste the template shortcode. I think that's paste the template shortcode. So okay, great. Let's see what. Maybe this is supposed to help. Okay, so you're gonna get something that looks like that, and all your reviews show up in a list. You can even use it in a sidebar. Create as many templates as you'd like. Okay, so great. Installation. Upload WFB reviews to the folder. Okay, so this is a folder that you're supposed to upload to the plugins directory. Activate the plugin through the plugins menu in WordPress. Look for in WPFB items in your admin. Okay, so we've got, this is here in the admin. Okay. So use Facebook or Twitter page to download for your reviews from a different site. Let's look at your reviews list. Okay, so you've got your reviews. That's great. Yeah, okay. Let's go over here. Let's go over here to templates. Okay, so here's your widget. Let's get the short code. To display this in your sidebar, or add WP reviews widget under appearance widgets. So appearance widgets. Okay, Facebook slider section. Okay. You've went into Elementor, so I guess let's go back into Pages. And again, I've never seen this before, so I'm kind of like just stabbing at it. I need to get here. I need to get back to the dashboard so I can get back to that shortcode should I need it. Where the hell am I? I don't think that's what I was looking for. Okay. This is where WP sliders needs to go. I want to come to the bottom. So this is where I typically come in and I add a text editor, and this is where I need to get that shortcode. Come on, Chris. Display this in your sidebar. That's not how shortcuts work. To display this in your sidebar or other widget areas, add WP Reviews widget under Appearance Widgets. Then select this template from the drop-down. Okay. This template is TKD slider. Appearance Widgets. Available widgets. Main sidebar. Okay. Add widget. Well, you've already done that, so I'm going to delete this one. Okay, widget title is Facebook slider. Select review template. Okay, so it's that. So that's done. So it seems like when we come back over, this is probably what you've already done. I'm going to, because of that, I'm going to go ahead and remove that. I'm going to come back up here. I want to look at this. Okay, wait. I suspect that's already what you've done. There's something that's not. There's something that's not connected. There, like you've got your slider here. I see it. Um, I'm gonna have to do some more research there, Rebecca. There's something that's not like the widget titles, Facebook slider, the review templates, TKD slider. Okay. You've also got this other one that is Facebook slider WP. I mean, this is where I typically would bring in a short code, and that's what I was going for earlier when I was saying brought in a text editor, but I was really looking for short code. Um, but it's not. You're not using a short code here, which is interesting. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna have to investigate this, Rebecca, because I've never used this. I've never used this particular plugin. So um, there's it's saying shortcode, but it doesn't mean shortcode. It means something else. So they've clearly updated it, but not updated the phrasing. Let's look at this blog header thing. If we can't fix this shortcode issue, let's try to fix this one here. Um, let's see here. So where are your pages at? Hmm. Very disappointed in that. Okay, blogs. Okay, so it looks like you're probably still leveraging his blog page. I'm guessing. I mean, it says this hasn't updated since 2017, so I can't believe you'd actually be using that. But I don't see where else you. I don't see anything else here titled blog that you might be using. So uh, I'm gonna I'm gonna view this just so I can see what's going on. But I don't see where. Here's your blog page. There's a slider, and again, like it's got everything. So I'm like, what's going on here? Um, Rebecca, I don't necessarily know if this is your header. Okay, let's go to blog. It's saying blog isn't archive. It's a struggle. It's a struggle. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what you're working on and what you're not working on because I see a lot of the assets still here from your header page. So I'm not sure what's real and what's not with regard to this. Obviously, I see blog archives, but I'm not sure if this is what I'm supposed to be seeing. Um, so I recognize the question. Unfortunately, I don't necessarily know. Header for the blog is not letting me delete the word header. I'm not seeing the word header, but again, I'm not sure what you're looking at because I'm seeing blog archives, but this page, I suspect that I'm digging down the going down the wrong path because I don't see anything here called blog that you've recently worked on inside of pages. So yeah, if you could give me some more detail about where you're seeing that, that would be helpful. Because as of right now, I don't see any work that you've done on the blog that leads me to believe I'm even in the right area. Um, the header still needs work, because if you're using the header on these other pages, it's giving the full home page still. So we've got to, even though you've kind of gone through and re-edited that, it's still being utilized on the other pages. So we've got to simplify the header overall. I've got some work to do here. I've got to come back here to this WP sliders and figure out what's going on there. We've got that footer section fixed. You've got my opinion on the call to actions. I can't begin to tell you what to do on that blog, because I don't know where your file is for that. Finally, it says, and again, there's one at the bottom that says blog 2. I'm afraid to begin working on that one, because I'm not sure where it is that you're operating. So if you give me some more details there, tell me like this, follow this tree and this is where you'll find the work I'm talking about. I want to replicate the background overlay I use in the hero section for the header section of the blog. Yeah, okay, so we're in blog 2. I'm not sure where you're operating at. So until we can drill down on the blog itself, I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to do for you. So show me where that work is. Right now, all I'm seeing is work from like 3 years ago that the old designer did. I'm going to take a look at this WP sliders thing though, and get an answer back to you on that, because there's just something disconnected there, and I'm not sure what it is. But we will get to the bottom of that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, somewhat frustrating, a long edition of the feedback loop here. Got some more work to do. So Rebecca, circle back with me on that blog thing. I just need to know where I'm kind of rabbit holing. I don't necessarily know where that work is hiding out at. James, this is about dynamic content at this point. The adjustments that need to be made, you need to be thinking about, okay, what happens if a long title comes in? Everything cannot be and should not be truncated just by default. Okay, if it's truncated by default, we haven't designed it properly. And Katie, the grid, okay, align with the columns, not the gutters. And really think about what information is going to be displayed. And do you need a controller to cycle through ingredients, nutrition, and preparation, or can that all be on the same page, on the page at the same time? You might be overthinking it a bit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic, and I will see you all again tomorrow. Take care.